Let's take a look at editing and adjusting the tabs within our sheet. So this is a spreadsheet, and each spreadsheet can have multiple sheets. If you come from the Microsoft Excel environment, they call the entire file the workbook, and then each individual tab the worksheet. So I'm just going to call them tabs because that is what they look like. And there are several actions you can take with a tab by clicking this drop down arrow that appears in the tab. And you'll see some are ghosted out. That means that we can't take them for this particular tab. For example, we couldn't delete this one because this is the only tab within the sheet at this point. So one of the options that is, I think, pretty helpful is the ability to duplicate a tab. So right now what I'm looking at is quiz results. So this was a quiz that was given on Google Apps, and it comes from a Google form. I've just copied the data over. And one thing that teachers will do is the next year, the next trimester, when they give that quiz, they make a copy of it. And then they have to create a whole new spreadsheet. Instead, what you can do is you can make a copy of this data by just duplicating, right? And this is going to create a copy of this quiz data. What this allows me to do then is I can then delete all of these rows here so that any new responses will appear in this quiz responses sheet. Meanwhile, I have responses from past years or past quarters saved. All right, once I am within this new tab, I then can take a couple of options. I probably am going to rename it. So I can use this arrow and go to rename. I can also double click within the tab, and I could give it for example, a school year, maybe February 2022. So I'm kind of creating an archive for myself. You can also change the color of a tab to make it stick out. So if you have a color coding system, this can be useful. If this is something that you decide that you don't want, let's say that you made another copy of this, and let's say this is a tab you did not want, you could use the delete option to get rid of it. You can also move your tabs. So you have the option to click on this and do move left. There's nothing to move right. You can also drag and drop these. So if I click and hold on a tab, you can move it around and you can place it where you want it to go. There's some other options here, and we'll definitely discuss this when we get into collaborating and protecting your sheets. So we'll go more into depth, but there is an option to protect your sheet. And by doing this, you can make it so that nobody else can edit. I can just give it a little description and set my permission and say that only I can edit this range. So if someone else tries to come in, they're not going to be able to change any of my data. If this is just for me, let's say that I'm sharing this with a co-teacher or team teachers or administration, and this is data from a previous year or students that I don't have currently, and I just want them to see the current data, I can hide this sheet. And so anyone who I'm collaborating with this on, they're not going to be able to see that tab. Now, if I wanted to bring that back, I could go to the view menu and I would see that as a hidden sheet. So it would be accessible to me. I could just go to show this again. All right, another option that you have is to copy this data. So let's say that you had several tabs within the sheet and you either wanted to use this data somewhere else or you wanted to make it visible, but you didn't want any of the other data to be visible to a collaborator. What you could do is you could copy this to a spreadsheet that you already have and it would come in as a new tab, or you could just click new spreadsheet and you'll see what happens. This creates a new spreadsheet. I have to give it a title, of course, but this is a brand new file and it only includes this data. So those are some options when working with your sheet tab. I hope that's helpful.